So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Suella Braverman's statements on how she'll get Britain back on track. And she says, Brexit was not a revolution, but it was a restoration. Okay. A restoration of what, you might ask? Well, we'll find out. After decades of subservience to Brussels, I mean, again, we helped shape a lot of the laws that came out of the EU, and we even ignored some as well, so that's a ridiculous statement. Some think that these powers won't change anything, and I don't share that belief, but the powers are only as good as our will to use them. Deregulation. She has dropped out of the Tory race, to be fair. This was one of her pitches. She didn't drop out, she was booted out, basically. She says, otherwise we're back in the EU sooner than you think. So essentially, she could be arguing for deregulation. Otherwise, we'll be back in the EU because we haven't de-aligned that much. She says, Brexit was shorthand for a widespread dissatisfaction with the Blairite consensus. Now, I think that's a load of rubbish because there were 6 years of Tory rule before Blair. Unless you're arguing Cameron was similar to Blair, which I don't think is true because I don't think Tony Blair would have done anything as bad as austerity. The obsession with university education, how dare people want to get, degrees and things like that? How dare they? And if you guys actually fix the apprenticeship system, there wouldn't be, I think, as big an obsession to go to university. In Germany, apprenticeships, I think, are seen as quite a big deal. His university education, however poor, and again, you guys could have fixed the university education if you thought it was bad. The explosion of rights litigation, people, trying to get their rights via the courts and tribunals. How dare they? The gimmicky treatment of regional growth. I mean, that was on you guys again. You guys are literally talking about the gimmick. You literally are making regional growth a gimmick with your level up scheme. Sorry, I'm just tripping over words here. So the lazy preference for cheap foreign labour. Again, that's not true. If you wanted to change the rules around it, you could easily increase things like minimum wage and make it so that agency staff couldn't get paid less than permanent staff. If you wanted to do that, that would have reduced the. I think that would have helped kind of stem the flow a bit of employers trying to employ people that are from Europe on cheaper wages. But again, you didn't do that. I think other countries do have stuff like that and stronger unions to really help. We do not. The Northern Ireland Protocol Bill needs to be changed so that it actually solves the problem. Again, these are ridiculous statements she's making here. The Northern Ireland Protocol is not that big a deal. It talks about VAT, which I don't think will get changed, but then again, different EU countries have different rules on VAT, so I don't think, again, that's a bigger deal. The EU are wary of giving Northern Ireland some sort of competitive boost over, EU member states. Medicine should be under UK law from day one, and yet the UK can, the GB can export medicines without any problems to Northern Ireland that aren't regulated by the EU. So again, what's your point? It talks about the dual regulatory regime, letting the EU law flow into Northern Ireland in perpetuity. I mean, again, they're part of the EU single market for goods. Obviously, they should follow EU law. The dual regulatory regime thing is ridiculous. Then she talks about the need for a sunset clause that provides a mechanism for moving to mutual enforcement. Again, buzzwords, mutual enforcement. What does that mean? You pick and choose the rules? Like what? These are all rules I've been fighting for while in government, and yet you failed to get any of this stuff done. And then she says people in Northern Ireland are being treated as second-class citizens without this Northern Ireland bill, the Protocol Bill. It's ridiculous because they're doing better than us in a lot of metrics, which is a result of the protocol. Says we need to break trafficking incentive model. The Rwanda plan can work, but we'll have to leave the ECHR to do it now. She made a video statement on this talking about it, which we'll listen to.
Happened with the Rwanda flight and the Rwanda policy. The reality is that the policy is vulnerable to claims based on Human Rights Acta or the European Convention, namely Article 3 claims and Article 8 rights.
So we're going to leave the European Convention of Human Rights because of Article 3 claims and Article 8 claims. So Article 8, I couldn't figure out how this one's that relevant. Everyone has the right to respect of his private and family life, his life and his correspondence. There shall be no interference by a public authority with the exercise of this right, such as in accordance with the law and the necessary in a democratic society. I couldn't quite figure out how that one's relevant to deportations. I guess if you class it, everyone has the right to respect for his private family life, his home and correspondence. Deporting people maybe goes against that, but if we look at Article 3, this is the big one for me. No one shall be subjected to torture or inhumane or degrading treatment or punishment. That's where the ECHR, I think, have stepped in on Article 3 grounds to say that they, by deporting people, they are subject to inhumane or degrading treatment or punishment. I would say deporting someone to a foreign country like Rwanda would fall under that category. But again, it's up to interpretation. It's the way the judges interpret it. So she wants to get rid of all our rights because of this. We go on, she says, with a similar policy, Australia radically cut illegal immigration. Now, if we actually look at how Australia dealt with it, right? So how does the Australian scheme work? Under the scheme, boats patrol Australian waters and intercept anyone attempting to come into the country. They are either returned to the country of departure or taken offshore to a processing centre. So this is where Australia's processing centre is, quite far away. So I'm assuming it would be maybe these sorts of countries here that people will be fleeing to Australia via boat. And if we look at the United Kingdom here, these people are flown all the way out to this island. If we look at the United Kingdom, if you had people coming here from France, okay, so this is France, what island would you take these people to be processed? That's kind of its own island. Where would you take them to? The whole turn back thing didn't work because the channel waters are too dangerous. So for her to kind of make that argument makes no sense. And she says, it's a common misconception that leaving the ECHR would imperil the Good Friday Agreement, the devolution settlement and EU trade deal. The Belfast Agreement stipulates that rights should be embedded into law, and this was achieved by the Human Rights Act. But the thing is, she wants to repeal the Human Rights Act, arguing that it's going to be strengthened by Dominic Raab's Bill of Rights, but that's simply not the case if you're making the argument that we need to get rid of certain articles of the ECHR, right? That's what she's arguing against, Articles 3 and 8, she wants to repeal those by the looks of things. So how will Dominic Raab's Bill of Human Rights, Bill of British Rights, still be similar or, stronger than the Human Rights Act? It doesn't make sense. So I was a bit flustered just reading this article. It's just bizarro world. Braverman makes no sense. I'm glad she's not in the Tory running anymore. She's a joke, an absolute joke, but she was there to kind of push the debate more towards the extreme right of the Tory party, and I think she kind of succeeded in doing that. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.